Hey everyone, this is Dhruvin, and in this session we are going to talk about how we can create source code file for Power Apps Canvas app. You have heard correctly. Now we can maintain the source code repository for our Canvas app. Now we can upload our Power Apps source code file to the GitHub and work with multiple resources. We are going to talk about entire thing from start to end during this entire session. So now let's get started and talk about the agenda for today's session. During this entire session, first of all, we will be talking about overview of Power Apps source code control utility. This utility is something which is used to unpack our msapp file. So I'm going to give you the overview about how we can create the GitHub repository and unpack the msapp file. After that, I'm going to talk about the overall folder structure that we unpacked from the second step. Then we will make some changes in our source code file and commit the changes to the GitHub. And at last, we will pack the source file and publish the msapp file and check the updated changes in the Power Apps. This is the overall agenda that we wanted to achieve throughout this entire session. So stay tuned. But before we get started, here is the intro. Now, first of all, let me talk about the real life business case and scenario that we are going to achieve throughout this session. So here is one Power Apps I have created, that is multi-step form V1. Now, here you can see that in my app there are 4 screens. So basically what I'm going to do here is I will download this particular Power Apps, then I will extract the source code file from this Power Apps and make the changes into the source code and will change some header part from our app, and at last I will use the source code file to make the update to my Power Apps. I am going to explain you the step-by-step procedure in detail over here. So now let's get started with the first step. Now here there is one blog post provided on official Microsoft blog. The link I will provide in the description box. So first of all, we need to install some prerequisites. So first of all, we need to install .NET Core 3.1. So we need to open that into new tab. So it will redirect you to the download page for .NET Core 3.1. So based on the operating system, you just need to choose the installer. So I'm using Windows x64, so I'm just clicking on that and I will download the .NET Core 3.1 and install that into my machine. I already did that, so I'm not going to do the same procedure again. Once you download that thing, the second step that we need to perform here is we need to use Power Apps language tooling utility. So just open up that into your GitHub repository. So it will open up this GitHub URL for us. There are multiple ways to clone this repository, but I'm going to explain you a very short way over here. So let me just simply download this GitHub repository. For that, click on code and click on download zip. So this has downloaded this folder for me. Now it's time to install this utility. So let me open up the download folder over here. Now this is the downloaded file. Now let's copy this zip file from here and now let's paste to specific folder. So I'm just going to create one new folder where I'm going to install this particular thing. So I just provided my folder name as POC03 and I'm just pasting this zip file over here. Now let's extract the file. So I extracted the zip file. Now just open that file. Now here you can see that one Windows command script file which is build. Now we just need to double click on it and run that file. At this moment you can see that from this folder structure we do not have any bin folder. Now once you run this file, it will create the bin folder over here. Now let's click on run anyway. So that will open one command prompt for you and it start to install this utility. Let it to be complete. Once the installation is completed, the command prompt will be closed automatically. Now here you can see that the bean folder is created, and in bean we have the debug folder and we have PASOPA folder. Just open up the folder PASOPA. Now we are going to use this utility in order to unpack our msapp file. Now we will check that procedure step by step, but just keep open this PASOPA folder. Now in order to get the source file from our Power Apps, we need to unpack our Power Apps. That is the step 1. So now let's go to the Power Apps portal, and this is the Power Apps that is opened here. Now let me go to the file and click on save as, and let me just download the msapp file. So I just use the cloud, and now I'm just selecting this computer, and that will download one msapp file for me. So this file has been downloaded successfully. Now let me open up the folder, copy this thing, and let me pull the same file to my POC02 folder. So I'm going to documents, and POC03 folder is there, and let me paste it over here. So here we have installed our utility, and this is our msapp file, right? Now let's unpack our msapp file. That is the first step. So let me just open up command prompt as a run as administrator privileges. So I am searching for command prompt and run this as the administrator privileges. So that has opened my command prompt. Now first of all we need to change this path. This path will be changed from the default path to the PASOPA folder path. So basically I installed my utility over here. I went to the bin folder, debug folder, and PASOPA folder. Let's copy this path and change the path first. So we need to use a code cd and then provide the same path and hit enter. So the path has been changed. Now it's time to unpack our Power Apps. So basically in POC03 folder I push my msapp file. Now I want to convert this msapp file to the source code file. So let's just copy the path for this msapp file. So this is the path for my msapp. So let's copy this, and now let me open up one notepad. So first of all I am making my script code over here. So first of all you need to make the file path of msapp file, but before that you need to add this line of code: PASOPA space dash unpack, then the msapp file path. Then you need to press space, and you need to provide the destination path where you want to extract all the source code file. So basically I wanted to have that into POC03 folder. So I will keep that as POC03, and I just wanted to make a folder name as multisteps03. So I am just making this, right? So that will create multistep03 folder over here, and it will place all the files over here. So now let's copy this and execute the same thing on the command prompt. Press enter. And the unpacking has been done successfully. You can see that the folder name multistep03 has been created successfully, and here you can see that the entire source code file structure available here. Now it's time that we need to open this file into Visual Studio Code or any of the source code editor that you want. So I'm opening this folder to the Visual Studio Code. So let me just open up Visual Studio Code. Let me go to the file menu and open up the folder. So from document I'm going to POC03 folder, and this is the source code folder. So let me select that. So this will open all the files for the Power Apps. Now in the Visual Studio Code you can see that the entire code structure files over here. There are different folders on the left hand side. Now let me talk about this folder structure overview and and use of every file which we have unpacked from the msapp file. So let's get started with that. So the first folder is asset folder. So once we expand this, you can see that one logo file and one resource.json file. So basically asset folder is responsible for media files embedded in the app. Then we have one connection folder. So basically in connection folder, all the connection instance is saved with this app and used while reloading into the studio. Then we have the data source folder. So all the data source files used by the app has been stored into this data source folder. Then we have a folder called entropy. Once we expand this, we have two folders, checksum.json and entropy.json. Now we have one packages folder. A downloaded copy of all external references such as templates, API definition files, and component libraries are stored into this packages folder. So this is similar like NuGet package manager in Visual Studio. Now we have our most important folder, that is src folder. Here we have all pa.yaml file structure. So basically for each individual screen we have separate YAML file where we can modify our different formulas and properties. We'll talk more about later of this session. Now in src folder we have two different folder, components and editor state. Editor state.json file basically stores the cached information for the studio to use. Then we have a file called canvas manifest.json. So this is the manifest file. This contains what is normally in the header properties and publish information. So you will see all the information over here. So this is the overall idea about the file folder structure that is extracted from the msapp file. So basically we are going to do most of the changes in our src folder. Now let's make some changes and let me show you that thing in detail over here. Now before we make any changes, let's push all our code to our GitHub repository. So now let me show you that step as well. So for this particular example, I am going to use GitHub desktop. You can use any source code control based on your convenient. So let me just open up my GitHub desktop over here. So I just opened up my GitHub desktop over here. Now let's create a new repository. So I'm going to create new repository in POC03 folder. Select this folder and now give the repository name. So I'm giving the repository name as multistep03 and let's click on create repository. So the repository has been created successfully. Now let's open up that folder and you can see the green tick over here and git file has been added over here. Now let's make some changes in our code file. So as a practical purpose, what I want to achieve here is I just wanted to change my label text from employee onboarding to employee onboarding app. Now for that what I'm going to perform here is I will edit the YAML file for screen 1 and change the value for this thing. But before we go for that thing, we need to understand some concept of YAML file format. So let me head over to my Visual Studio Code and let's check more into it. All the formulas has been stored to the YAML file. So we need to expand the source folder and we need to open the file with the screen name that we want to edit. So basically my screen name was screen 1. So I just need to open up that file. Now let me talk about few concepts about the YAML file. So as you can see that in YAML file, if we want to add any formula, it will start with is equal to symbol. You can see that here is equal to symbol is being appeared, right? Similar way, let's say for an example, if there is a value for x and y axis and everything, it will be starting from is equal to. Another thing is that any control name that we are going to use in our screen is considered with as variable. So let's say for an example, if we have a control gallery 1, so it will consider gallery 1 as gallery, right? So you can see that for any control, even if the label control is there, it is considered with as variable. Now, one more important thing. If we have multi-line formula, So it will consider that with the pipeline. Now let's make some changes over here. So let's say for an example, I just wanted to change the header for my app, that was employee onboarding. Now I wanted to change that as employee onboarding app. So I'm just making these changes over here, and here you can see that the text I changed from here. Now from here we can change any of the property. Like let's say if I want to change width, height, z index, anything I can change it from here. So let's keep text is being changed here, right? Now once we make this change, it's time to republish this thing to our Power Apps. But before we do that, let me show you the git commit thing over here. So we already added our entire repository to GitHub. So now what happened here is any users, let's say for an example, you are working with 4 developers. So all 4 developers will able to access the source code from the GitHub, and they can change and work in the multiple parallel files. But make sure that if you add any control, the control name should be unique. Otherwise, you will face any issues. This thing is still in preview, so I would recommend to create the control and that kind of stuff from Power Apps portal instead of doing that from the code side. So it is my personal recommendation. Once it is generally available, definitely you can do as many of as thing you wanted to have. But at this moment, just for learning purpose, add any control from the Power Apps, and then just change minor properties from here. That's the thing that you can do it using this particular utility. Now let's open up our GitHub Studio and let's check the commit thing. So here you can see that I opened this thing, and here you can see that this is a change that is done by me. Now I just need to do some commit message. So changes by Dhruvin, and let's commit to main. And after that we need to publish to our GitHub repository. So let me just publish this thing to our repository. So let me just click on publish repository. So that will create the repository with multi-step 03, and everything will be deployed over there. And here we are. Now if you want to see that thing in the GitHub, you just need to click on view on GitHub. So that will open up the browser window here, and you can see all the source code file over here. So you simply go to the source file, and if you want to make any change, you can change, right? You could simply need to click on edit this file, and everything will be appear here, and you can make the changes based on your convenient. Similar way, more users can clone this repository and work parallelly, right? So we have made this simple change. Now there is a question that, yeah, Dhruvin, we have made these changes. Now how we can push all the changes to our Power Apps? What are the steps for that? For that we need to pack this entire source code file to MSF file again. Now let me show you those steps again over here. So let me just open up my command prompt again. Now it's time to pack our source files. So for that, what you need to do here is you need to open up your folder POC03, and we have cloned everything and made all the changes over here, right? So let's close our Visual Studio Code. Let's copy this folder path from here. Now let me just remove this thing. Let's paste it over here. PASOPA pack. So we will use PASOPA hyphen. So we will use the command PASOPA space hyphen pack. Now we need to provide the MSF file name that we wanted to have. So earlier we have our MSF file name as multistep01, like this, multistep form v1.msf. So now I just wanted to update one version over here. So I wanted to have the name as multistep form v2.msf. Then we need to provide the path where we have all our source code file. So we have all our source code file into multistep03 folder. So we need to paste the folder path of multistep03, right? So we provided that path. Now we need to copy this thing, and let's run this thing from the command prompt. So make sure that your folder path is PASOPA's debug folder. Now let's paste it and let's hit enter. So here we are, the MSF file has been converted successfully. Now where you can check your MSF file, let me show you. So you need to open your installed utility folder. So we have installed our utility over here. We go to the bin folder, debug folder, PASOPA folder, and here you can see that MSF file has been just created. Now we need to open that MSF file to Power Apps portal. So let's copy this folder. Just click on file menu, click on open, click on browse, and provide the folder path, and let's provide our Power Apps. Now let's click on don't save, and let's upload this file, and here we are. You can see that the changes has been reflected successfully. The header name has been changed. Similar way you can change so many properties as you want. We have successfully deployed this thing into Power Apps portal, and now we can simply save and publish our file, right? Now, let me talk about some limitations for this particular feature. So make sure that this is the experimental feature. So it is not advisable to use it into production thing. And Microsoft is constantly working on this, and hopefully very soon we will have this feature as general availability. So before we use that in the production, we need to keep few things in our mind. The first thing is that outside of Studio, don't add any control with the same name as one that already exists. Now let's say for an example, in Visual Studio Code, we have this many of controls. Now if some developer by mistakenly add the same control with the same name as label 2 underscore 1, then it will create conflict and we will face some issues. So make sure about that thing, the control name is should be unique. One more important thing, it is not advisable to add the control directly from the code files. It would be great if you can directly add to the Power Apps and then use that page to the Visual Studio Code. Second thing is that the source code file may expose the option that Studio does not. Some properties are available in Studio but in code it will not be available. So make sure about that thing as well. So hope you are good with me so far and you have converted your MSF file to the source code file and pushed everything to the GitHub and work with the multiple developers. If you have any question, you can add your questions in the comment section. If you are for the first time to my channel, make sure you hit subscribe and press the bell notification to never miss any updates from my channel. Stay connected with me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter and WhatsApp. I have created one another podcast channel where you can listen your favorite Power Platform podcast on your favorite podcast platform like Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify and much more. Also, if you want to listen different Power Platform related concept on Instagram, here is a separate Instagram account where you can listen your favorite Power Platform concept in detail. Also, if you are interested to listen different short videos related Power Platform, here is a separate channel for that. Just click on that, subscribe my channel and learn different Power Platform concept in detail over here. This is Dhruvin signing off. See you in the next session. Have a great day. Goodbye.